Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. We have seen a plethora of updates go live in Call of Duty this week between Warzone, between Vanguard. I'm losing track of how many different times I see a tweet on my timeline that says, hey, new update going live right now. This has changed, that's broken. So with all that being said, obviously we've seen a lot of weapon changes occur over the past couple of days, specifically here in Warzone, to a lot of the main meta weapons, surprisingly. So after all the weapon tuning, I wanted to sit down and break down the new top 10 best loadouts to be using in Warzone right now for Caldera, for Rebirth, everything and anything. These are the best guns. These are the best loadouts that you want to be using right now. So as we go through it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. Let's try and aim for 3,000 likes on this one. And of course, if you're new to the channel, or if you happen to be a part of the 57% of viewers who have not already subscribed, we are getting super close to 800,000 subs. It would be insane if we could hit that before the end of the year. And each and every day, I am always covering everything going on in COD between the loadouts, news, updates, tips. It is all right here. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you can always stay up to date. Also, right now, my friends over at G Fuel have bumped code Immortal back up to 30% off the entire site to celebrate the holidays. They've actually also gone ahead and dropped some new holiday-based flavors right now as well. So if you want to grab anything from the site, a tub, a shaker cup, a starter pack, anything like that, Code Immortal has you covered. So we've got our 10 loadouts here. As always, they're very conveniently named, and I've gone through, I've built the absolute best setups for each weapon and each weapon combination that I think we've got in the game right now, especially after this latest weapon tuning pass. A lot of stuff has ended up changing. First and foremost, I want to go ahead and break down pretty much what is my least used setup in the game when it comes down to it. This is my restock setup, and as we know, with how the loadouts work, you're not always getting that second loadout each match, so this one doesn't see as much action as, say, the 9 other ones that we're going to break down. But if you find yourself getting that second loadout, you want to get Ghost, but have both your primary weapons, you want to get Restock or Tempered, whatever it may be, this is my recommended setup for that. You could use just about any primary, because all these come with fully loaded. If they're a Vanguard weapon, I'd recommend using a Vanguard weapon for your regain loadout, let's say. Here in this case, I'm going for the STG. It's pretty much my basic setup here. There's one slight difference. You'll notice it when we go over the next loadout here. But for starters, going with the Mercury silencer. This is the best silencer for pretty much everything in the game. Keeps you off the radar, increases your recoil control, which is super ideal. Definitely worth running there. For the barrel, on the STG, the 760mm barrel is 100% the go-to. Better accuracy, better control, better range, all around the perfect barrel when it comes down to it. For the optic, you got a lot of options here, especially with the Vanguard weapons. The 2.5 times, a lot of people really enjoy because it's very similar to like the VLK 3 times or the T-pose reticle in general. So a lot of players are running this. The M19 4 times flipped. This is one of the best sights in the game for recoil control. This will help reduce your visual recoil quite a bit. That's another great option. The 4 to 8 times I see some players using. I'm not too huge on that one. The 3.5 times rifle scope is another great one for recoil. The Slate 2.5 times custom scope is another great one for recoil. And then also the 3.25 and the 3 to 6 times scopes are pretty solid as well. So you could go with any of those. You'll see a decent mixture of those throughout all the loadouts today. They all work just fine. For the stock here, weighted stock, better recoil control, better aiming stability. For the underbarrel, Carver foregrip is on pretty much every weapon I use. Better recoil control. It offers the most recoil control out of all the underbarrels here, so that's a no-brainer. On the STG, I use just the basic 60-round mags. I'm not too huge on the 30 Russian short 45. They're just not ideal for long-range fights, for the ammo capacity there. It's just not what it needs to be, in my opinion. So basic 60-round works just fine. The TTK is still great. We're going for lengthen for the better velocity, polymer for the better recoil control while firing. That's the main key that we're looking for there. Vital is going to help out that increased torso damage, makes it a little bit more powerful. Then finally, fully loaded, obviously, because this is my regain class, but also fully loaded is the best perk for all rifles. Now for the secondary here, I'm still rocking the machine pistol as like a little go-to. I'm not really using this too much. If I get a kill on somebody, or if I find like a good ground loot sub, a Type 100, a PPSH, I'm probably going to drop this for that, so I have a more consistent secondary, but this is still pretty solid. I'm going for the F8 stabilizer here. Better damage range is really all I'm looking for out of that. You could also go for Mercury silencer though as well if you wanted to stay off the radar. For the barrel, going for the 140mm one. Better hip fire accuracy is the main pro that I want out of that. The optic means nothing here. This is totally irrelevant because I am using a Kimbo here with fully loaded again, obviously, so the optic is just absolutely there to just be a troll and to be toxic because you don't need it. I'm going for the hair trigger, better hip fire accuracy yet again. I go for the 40-round mags, better control, better fire rate, better movement speed, pretty solid there. I go for lengthens here. just because these other options really aren't all that great. Then I go for the pine tar grip for better hip fire accuracy. Obviously, the main key here is because you're using a Kimbo, you're only hip firing. You want to have the best hip fire accuracy possible. Perks here, EOD, restock, or any perk 2 perk you want. Tempered, high alert, ghost, whatever it may be, you could just fill that in. Amped, and then also the frag and the stun. That stuff pretty much stays the same minus restock. It's overkill on every other class, but EOD, amped, frag, stuns, that stays the same on every single loadout. Now getting into the main loadouts, the first one here is the STG and the MP40. I truly believe the STG is probably that new main long-range weapon after the automaton nerf. I mean, they just destroyed the thing's recoil for no real reason, right? Like, the thing is very difficult to use now for casual players, especially console players, especially with no FOV slider. The automaton just ain't it. The STG, though, definitely one of the new best ranged weapons in the game. Same setup as before, but in this case, I got the 2.5 times custom optic on there. Everything else, though, is the exact same. Now, on the MP40, I'm still loving this thing. I do think it's probably one of the best SMGs, if not the single best SMG in the game. We did discover that it is not pay to win with the whole blueprint in the battle pass with the space issue blueprint. It comes with Vital on it, but Ace actually went in, he tested, he discovered that it's not pay to win. Vital doesn't actually make a change here, so you don't have to worry about that. But as far as the main attachments here go, Mercury silencer yet again. I'm going for the 317mm barrel, better accuracy, better control all around. I go for one of the alternative iron sights, the ISO 1M iron sight basically. I like the way this one looks. It's got a better ADS speed, so pretty solid there. I'm going for the folding stock, better sprint to fire, better movement, perfect for a sub setup. Carver for that better recoil control yet again. Going for the Kurz mags here, better damage, better range, better velocity. Really solid here, makes this a lot more viable in some of those close and medium range fights. But for what it's worth, the 64 round drums are also pretty solid. They just don't have the best damage. I go for the hollow point mags here, or lengthened. Either or works. Obviously, you're not getting the crit damage to the head and the torso with no vital on there, but the increased limb damage is going to help that TTK and your shots to kill to any part of the body. If you're still hitting chest and neck and head shots, you're going to have a decent TTK, and this helps out if you're getting that stray bullet to one of the extremities or one of the limbs there. So that's pretty solid, but for what it's worth, lengthened also works pretty well. We go for the polymer grip yet again. That's on pretty much every weapon. Steady, I feel like, is the best perk here since no vital, and that's irrelevant now. These perks really aren't super ideal and aren't all that competitive versus some of the other perks on other weapons that have, you know, tight grip, that have vital, so on and so forth. Steady, though, better ADS firing, move speed. Then finally, I use quick on all my subs for the better sprint speed. You could use fully loaded, though, as well. And obviously, we're using overkill instead of restock, and that's the same on all the following loadouts. Loadout number 2 here is going to be my main sniping loadout. Right now, we got the car, we got the harvester. Previously, my main sniper was the Type 99 because it could one-shot to the chest. They ended up going ahead and nerfing that and fixing that bug, so that's unfortunate. The car, though, still super consistent, super convenient. It's comfortable, it's familiar. It's one of the better sniping options in the game right now, especially when you go ahead and you put on the night vision optic. We'll get to that in just a moment, but Scout silencer here keeps you off the radar, better control, even though that's pretty obsolete. The SD silencer here hurts your ADS, and I don't want a slower ADS on the already very slow aiming down sight snipers, so Scout silencer is sort of the lesser of two evils in that case. We go for the Rio 2K barrel. This is going to end up increasing your upper extremity damage, better bullet velocity, better accuracy, all around pretty solid there versus some of the other barrels. That to me is the best option. Night vision. So obviously, as we know, the visuals, the visibility on Caldera is not super great in some cases, especially when you're fighting in and around the forest with all the foliage and leaves. Night vision helps out a ton, and I'm pretty sure as of right now, this also can help increase the ADS speed, unless of course they nerf this with another surprise update, right? But overall, the thermal sight, the night vision is pretty solid on your snipers because it helps out a lot with spotting enemies and getting those kills. Short stock for better ADS speed, better movement speed, very solid there, makes it a little bit more aggressive. Heavy foregrip in this case, better aiming stability, better aim walking steadiness with no real cons, so you love to see that. I go for the newly adjusted 5-round fast mag instead of the 3-round with the better ADS. Just having 5 rounds instead of 3 in there makes this a little bit more versatile and consistent for, you know, squad wipes, getting cleanups and whatnot. Lengthened, as always, on a sniper for the better velocity. Fabric grip for a better ADS primarily. I go for shrouded in this case. Some players like quickscope, some players like frenzy, but having no glint on this is basically giving you that little edge over the opponents. It's going to be harder to spot you, especially because you got the silencer on there. So ability to stay hidden there or shrouded is pretty ideal and fully loaded yet again. And for the secondary here, I'm going for the Cooper Carbine. Yes, this did get a slight nerf, but the nerf more so was impacting its viability in medium to long range fights. This thing as a pocket SMG, as that AR SMG hybrid, is still very, very dominant. I'm loving this thing as a secondary, using it like an SMG. Here we're going for Mercury Silencer yet again. I go for the Gracie Rapid Barrel for the better fire rate, makes it a little bit more lethal up close. Basic slate reflector here because you are only using this in close range fights, so simple red dot there. Remove stock for better mobility and movement speed. Carver foregrip yet again. I go for the 9mm 60 round drums. Better recoil control, which is super ideal because they did nerf that a little bit, but also better fire rate, better ADS. It's great for using this on an SMG setup. Hollow point yet again because we actually do have vital here, so we're getting good damage to the chest, the neck, the head, and then also the limbs. Polymer as always, and fully loaded once more. The next loadout features the bar and the Type 100. Because of the automaton nerf, like I said, I feel like the STG is very competitive. The bar is also probably that #2 option. It's back and forth between this and the STG as the best ranged weapons in the game. I mean, this thing, it hits like a truck when it comes down to it. And the Type 100 also, because the bloom nerf and reduction and removal, basically, it just seems to hit so good and so heavy. Like, it's a very powerful SMG, great for close range fights, probably my #2 choice behind the MP40 right now. On the bar, pretty standard setup here. Mercury Silencer yet again, especially helps with the recoil control, which was recently nerfed on the bar a little bit. I'm going for the 27-inch barrel here. Better range, better control, super ideal for a long range setup. 2.5 times optic once more. The Chariot WR stock for better control, better aiming stability. Carver foregrip yet again. The 50 BMG 40 round mag. You could do 30 if you wanted to, but if you're playing trios, if you're playing quads, 40 is probably going to be the go-to there. Increases the damage, the range, the velocity, all around is going to make this thing hit like a truck and make it super powerful and consistent across all ranges. Lengthened as always, polymer as always. I'm going for hard scope here, really just focusing on better control and sustained ADS, and then also fully loaded. And then for the Type 100 here, pretty basic setup for an SMG. A lot of these are sort of copy and paste in a lot of ways. The barrel here, though, is specifically interesting and particularly interesting. Mercury Silencer, usual stuff there. You could go two different options with the barrel, though. The 374mm barrel is really ideal for, let's say, more of a sniper support build or some of the medium ranged fights. Better control, better accuracy, reduced gun bob, better flinch resistance. However, the rapid barrel gives you better fire rate and a better damage range. The minus accuracy there is no longer relevant. The minus damage, though, is the unfortunate part, hence why I don't always use this. But the better fire rate does make it a little bit more aggressive, so if you wanted to use this as a very run-and-gun SMG, even though the damage range is part of a pro here, it's great for close-range fights because of that, but the 374 works fine for me in pretty much any type of engagement you'd be using this in. Because it's a sub, we're going for the basic slate reflector, the skeletal stock, better sprint to fire, better movement, Carver yet again, hollow point yet again, and vital as always, polymer, quick once more. And then also for the mag here, I'm going for the 48 round drums. They are damage increasing, range increasing, velocity increasing. The same thing happens with Russian short, but it's only a 36 round mag versus a 48 round drum. More ammo is always optimal here in Warzone for trios, for quads, for getting cleanup kills, so might as well go for the larger mag option. This next setup actually features a little bit of throwback action, the C58. For whatever reason, they're still just letting the Cold War weapons dominate the long-range meta. There's a couple of weapons we're going to break down in this video, and the C58 I feel like is definitely one of these options now where we're familiar with it, we're comfortable with it, we know how it works, and it still is going to fry in some of those medium and long-range fights. So same setup as always here. We obviously only have 5 attachments on this because it is a Cold War weapon. Agency, Task Force, Field Agent, 45 round drum, and then the 3 times optic. Standard stuff there, nothing's changed whatsoever. For the secondary here, I'm going for the Vanguard PPSH. Yes, it's got a slight nerf, but it's still one of the better options for close range fights. Great for trios and quads because the magazine capacity, the damage per mag is pretty solid still, so I'm definitely a big fan of it. Going for Mercury Silencer, as always. The Zach 300mm barrel, spelled right and everything. Better accuracy, better velocity, better range. You love to see it. No optic here. Base iron sights work fine for me. If you want to throw on a slate, by all means, feel free to do so. Skeletal stock yet again for that better mobility. Carver foregrip once more. The second 71 round drum. Do not use the first 71 round drum here of the mag. It's not worth. It's hurting your damage, your velocity, your range, your movement speed. It's just not ideal. The second one is just your basic extended mag. That's the one you want to be using. Lengthen yet again. You could try hollow point, but this one doesn't have the best damage in the world as is, so I feel like lengthen just works fine for what it is. Like I said, polymer tight grip here is increasing that recoil during sustained fire, and quick because obviously it is an SMG. Now this next loadout is Cold War exclusive. We got the XM4, we got the MAC-10, the Ka-Chow, flying and frying. This thing is a beast still, as is the XM4. This is probably my favorite ranged weapon that's not a Vanguard gun at the moment. I mean, I love the XM4. It's felt so good for so long, incredibly consistent and very easy to use. Same setup here is pretty much over on the C58. Agency Task Force, Field Agent, 60-round mag, and the 3x optic. Just like on the C58, nothing has changed with this. For the MAC-10, the only real change you'll notice here is to the stock, because obviously with the whole Pacific update and everything going on there, they nerfed the Raider stock on SMGs and all weapons for that matter quite a bit, so the mobility is not as good, and in my opinion, it's not as big of a deal breaker as it was before. Like, having Raider stock was essential before, now though, not so much. Everything else is pretty much the same though. Agency Task Force, Tiger Team for the better movement, 53-round drum, and then you can sort of mess around with that final attachment. You could go for the Bruiser Grip and get some insane movement speed because it coincides with the Tiger Team. You could go for the Airborne Elastic or the Serpent Wrap and get a better ADS, or you could just simply go for no stock, get some better mobility, get that better sprint to fire. That works just fine as well. All around though, the Mac is still one of the better SMG choices. After that, we've got another sniper setup. This one features the 3-line, which had some changes to it, not necessarily making it better or worse, just making it a little bit different. Really, when it comes down to it, if you're accurate with the sniper, this is going to work just fine over range. Good velocity, good damage, like all around, it's just a pretty standard basic sniper. For the secondary here, I'm going for the Owen Gun. We'll talk more on that in just a moment. But for the 3-line, going for Mercury Silencer. Pretty basic there. The 820mm barrel, better velocity, larger one-hit kill area. That's going to be really important for the overall setup. Night vision again, for same reasons over as on the car. I go for the Zach Custom MZ stock. Not going to lie, all these stocks kind of suck. There's nothing like the short stock that's on the car, for instance, but this one does give you a better ADS speed, so that's why I'm using that. For the skeletal underbarrel, that's giving you a better ADS speed as well, so that's why I'm going for that. I go for the 7.62x54 5-round fast mag, just because it's that basic fast mag here. Lengthened, because obviously it's a sniper, you want that better bullet velocity. Fabric for the better ADS. Shrouded once more, then fully loaded as well. Now, the Owen Gun is a very powerful SMG, but it's not as aggressive as some of the other ones. It's got that slower fire rate. It's more so like the Milano in that sense, which makes it really, really good for sniper support, hence why I'm using it here. The setup is still pretty similar to a lot of the other SMG builds, but it's just not going to be as great for running and gunning as some of those are, just because of the nature of it in and of itself. But Mercury Silencer yet again. For the barrel, I'm not a big fan of any of these. This again is sort of like the lesser of all the evils. Less damage fall off at range, so that makes it good for sniper support. Better velocity, better limb damage. No headshot damage bonus though, but these other ones are just not it at all, so that's sort of the best one to choose. You could try no barrel though if you wanted to, honestly. Slight reflector yet again. Remove stock for the better mobility. Carver foregrip. I go for the Kurz 60-round drums, better velocity, which is perfect for medium range, you know, sniper support, better range, same deal, better damage as well. Lengthened, because we are using this in those medium range fights. Polymer, steady, same deal as on the MP40, and then quick once more for that better move speed. Loadout number 8 is sort of an experimental one right now. It features the same exact MP40 setup as before, so nothing's changed with that, but for the primary here, I'm going for the MG42 from Vanguard. This received a slight recoil nerf in the last update, but it still is a powerhouse. If you're able to land your shots at this thing, it will melt players at pretty much any range. It's definitely, in my opinion, one of the better long-range options in the game still, despite some of the changes that it's undergone recently. Mercury Silencer yet again for the muzzle. For the barrel here, I'm going for the 890mm one. Better control is really the main pro that we're looking at here. It's going to make it have a lot less recoil over range. 2.5 times custom scope here. You could go for any of the other ones that we talked about. The 4 times flip could be really good here because of its recoil benefits. Just comes down to preference. 64M stock for better control. Carver foregrip yet again. No mag here. It's just not worth. The anti-material rounds just don't feel good at all. This first round here, 125 round drums, but they're hurting your damage, your velocity, and your range. You run out of ammo way too quick if you're using a 50 round fast mag, and 250 is just slowing you down too much, so none of those are really ideal. Instead, though, we're going for lengthened, polymer, tight grip yet again, and fully loaded as well. And then, like I said, nothing changed with the MP40. The next setup here, kind of the same deal. Same exact MP40 setup, because that's my trusty secondary right now, but instead of the MG42, we're going for the BREN. This thing hits like a truck. It's got insane damage. It just has a lot of visual kick and a lot of recoil, so it takes some getting used to. It's definitely not the easiest weapon to use, sort of like the EM2 in that sense, but it does speak for itself when it comes to power. Mercury Silencer for the recoil control. The Royal Barrel here is crucial. Better accuracy, better control, better bullet velocity. Damage does not diminish over range. This makes the TTK at all ranges utterly insane. 2.5 times optic yet again. I go for the Queen's Model 11BH stock for the better control. Carver foregrip, lengthened as always. The 50 BMG 50 round mags, just like over on the bar. This really gives it that increased damage that lets it just destroy everyone if you're able to land your shots. Polymer grip for the better control, tight grip for the better control, and fully loaded yet again. Then the last setup here is sort of my experimental sniper setup. Same car setup as before, all the same attachments there, nothing's changed. For the secondary, I'm going for the NZ-41. This was sort of that all-around do-it-all rifle at the start, but they ended up nerfing the recoil to where it bounces pretty bad after like the first 15 shots, and it just doesn't feel great at range. But for some of the more close range fights, you know, 0 to 30, 35 meters, it is feeling pretty good and can be very good for sniper support. So sort of building it around that. Mercury silencer for better control, same deal with the 360 millimeter barrel, 2.5 times optic or any of the other ones that you enjoy using. The E-Pack stock for better control as always, Carver foregrip, lengthened polymer as always. I'm sort of experimenting around with the 50 round mags here. They do hurt your velocity and range and your damage a little bit, but they make the control very, very easy. So if you're landing those shots instead of missing them without the mag, potentially the TTK is going to be very similar either way, despite the damage nerf or the damage reduction. I go for acrobatic here, better movement speed, makes it really good for sniper support. Then finally, fully loaded to round things out once more. And with all that being said, those, my friends, are the top 10 best loadouts to be using in Warzone right now. That's going to wrap things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, or if you found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to do so. That way you can always guarantee you are up to date with everything going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.